Hey everybody, what is up? It's Devin Lavore and
Michelle Lavore
coming at you. And why do you laugh?
Because it sounded funny.
Oh, yeah, I've been doing some funny coming at you lately.
It's like a almost harmonizing, but not
coming
at all.
At you, coming at you, coming at you.
Not even gonna try.
Coming at you. I've been doing some funny ones, and I guess this is just going to add to the pile. So this is the deal. I really feel like this is what the Lord's saying. And I know this has been said a bajillion times, right? But it's the truth. It's even in the scripture. So this statement's really a couple thousand years old. But it's going to happen suddenly. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen quickly. You know, all the preparation is so important that God's been doing in your life. Don't count anything as just... a lot of times as unimportant. A lot of times when we're waiting, we can feel like some of the things that are happening while we're waiting are unnecessary additions to the waiting process. Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
It's all vitally important. It's all super important. You know, you watch the British baking show, and they put just those every little piece of their fine detailed heart into their showstopper, and that's why it wins.
Yeah.
You know, people who are like, that's good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough to win. So when God's working on a heart, right? Mm-hmm. He's preparing you for what he knows you're going to need, for what he knows is coming. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it reminds me of a Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi and Daniel's son. Mm-hmm. You know, he was preparing him for what he knew was going to happen, but it was all boring stuff. It was all boring, repetitive stuff. You know? Sometimes I know our kids can feel that, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my gosh, wax on, wax off. Okay, 2:22. And God's saying we're going from one thing to another. When are we going to go from the one thing to the another? We keep saying it. And you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All those same prophetic things that God keeps saying. But it's like, why do we need to really, really have it in our spirit, well rehearsed, ready to go, and even go through rehearsal times? We went through rehearsal times when we would go to, God would pack us up, move us to a hotel just to impart into us a revelation, right? And he's done that a couple times, like probably 3, 4, 5 times, just to go through the motions and getting it into your system to practice it. Because the Lord's like, when things really start to happen, and it is the manifestation of the word, you're going to need to run with it. So that takes me to, is it Habakkuk? You know, Hab the cook, you know, was that 2:3? Or is it 3:2? I think it's 2:3, where it says, you know, though the vision tarries, wait for it, because it will not be behindhand on its appointed day. Something like that, right? But basically, let me break it down to you in divinic terms, okay? It means you might have to wait for it, but when it comes, it's going to come. It's going to come quickly. You need to be ready to run, okay? Because it's going to come and boom, you're going to have to go. You know, you're going to hear that shot. You're going to have to start running, you know? You can't be like, pow, and then look at the guy who shot the gun and be, okay, is that the cue for me to, what does that mean? Why did you shoot? Why are there guns in a race? I'm kind of concerned here. What's happening? What's going on? You're done. You got no oil in your lamp. You know what I'm saying? You ain't ready to go into the banquet, man. You're just not. You're not ready. So why are you on the line anyway, racing, if you don't know what the gunshot means? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like every little detail God is done to prepare you for what's coming is important, you know. But I feel like the Lord is saying, like, it is going to be quick. There is not going to be any time to, it's like when you get up to, it's not going to be any time to think. You got to just move by the Spirit. Once you get out on that surfboard and you're catching that wave, you don't have time to, what am I supposed to do again? Am I supposed to do this again? As soon as you go, okay, what am I supposed to do? You can't even get that thought, and boom, you're smashed into the water. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When you step up to bat, and you got the, you know what to do. It's like, all right, here comes the ball. Whack! And it's like, you're not sitting there, okay, now what do I do again after I hit the ball? I forget. Mm-mm. You shouldn't even be up there. Yeah. And any good coach is going to already know that to prevent such a scenario from even happening, right? And so God's got us swinging our bats and surfing our surfboards and doing all this stuff in the Spirit as it pertains to the calling and purpose that He has for us in this, for such a time as this, okay? Esther 4:14. So that when we get up to bat, man, boom, we're just going to hit it and go and run. No hesitation, no fear. Now, you might feel the hesitation. You might feel the fear. You might feel the sense of like, oh my gosh, this is too much, or whatever it is that we might feel. But what have we learned how to do, Sweetie P, with that stuff? What have we learned how to do? Over here.
Yeah. But ignore. Keep going.
Keep going with the Spirit.
Yeah.
And I just feel that. I feel there's just an ominous cloud. Ooh, Jesus. I just feel like there is an ominous cloud that has already come over, what should I say, the body of Christ? Or there's just an ominous cloud that has come into the world. And I believe it's the Lord Himself. I do. I feel like it's the Lord, the judge, God who is judge. He has come on the scene, and now He's just, it's going to be a lightning strike. Some of you are going to be hit by the Lord like a lightning strike. It's going to be just that quick, and that's how quickly your life's going to change. Does that make sense? It's going to, so even the dark ominous cloud, it seems negative, right? Not for the righteous. A lightning strike. Well, you've been hit by lightning. That's terrible. Well, not for the righteous. It's like Tony Stark and what was that, Avengers or something, when he finally met Thor, and Thor was like, listen, buddy, I'm going to give you some lightning. He just shot that bolt of lightning from his hammer, and Tony was like, Jarvis was like, your capacity is at 400%. Yeah. It's like, whoa, thank you. That's what it's gonna do. That's what the Lord's gonna do for us, man. He's gonna level us up on multiple percentages. Yeah. And what did you want to say something? Were you getting something there?
I guess I was just thinking about like a lightning strike in the sense of, God bringing people back to life, and like
instead of killing them.
Yeah, well, it's like he's coming to bring life, and so you think of jolts of electricity that can be used to bring people back to life.
That's true.
And kind of just,
clear.
Yeah, but it's that from the Lord where He's just like, I'm coming to give life. I'm coming for those who are my people, for those who are following and love me. I'm coming to give life, and so that's kind of what I was thinking about.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Psalm 77:17, where it talks about arrows and forked lightning. It's just He's coming in the clouds, so to speak, and there's just a sense of the Lord coming, and just you just got to be ready, be prepared, and just know. Well, how do you get prepared? By just being close to the Lord, listening to the Lord. Don't be afraid. Fear does not prepare you. Fear takes away from you. Fear will bind you. Fear will tether you. Fear will put unnecessary Saul armor on you. It'll put, weights around your ankles. But to be prepared, it's just to know the Lord, know what He's saying to you personally, getting yourself ready, knowing by faith that He's coming to do exactly what He said He's going to do, and it's just going to happen so quick, and you're going to need to go. The Lord told me a long time ago, right? The Lord said, Devin, I'm sending my messenger. Don't resist him. And now, if you know me, that's a very apt and fitting word. Am I right?
Yes.
Because I'd be resistant. I'm like, who are you? What do you want? Why are you here? I don't believe you. You know? It's like, I haven't even told you my name yet. I don't care. I don't like you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just being truthful here, right? Because it's like, if I'm not familiar with the situation, or it's just, particularly if things are happening too fast, then I was like, no, I want to slow it down. But what if the Lord's like, no, I don't need you to slow it down. I need you to just trust me and just go with the flow. Like when you get on that surfboard, you can't control the speed of things. I mean, you technically can, but you can't control the flow of the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, and God wants you to just trust him and go. And it's like, because the fear is, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I make a mistake? What if I mess up? What if I do the wrong thing? Or what if I don't do the right thing? I know that sounds like, well, isn't that the same thing? Well, we can get into that, because sometimes you just go and you just do the wrong thing. You know, not on purpose, but it's like, because you were afraid, you'll end up doing the wrong thing, or you're making the wrong choice, or you'll circumcise the vision is what it is. But then there's also a fear of not doing the right thing, and that kind of goes into the realm of the unknown. You don't know what the right thing is, and so you end up not doing anything. It's almost kind of like a burying the talent, but you're not a wicked and lazy slave. You're just afraid, you know. And so there's just all that goes into it. But yeah, did you want to say, because I felt like what you were saying was really good. That's why I brought Michelle on. She was like, I'll do the video, because it's not our normal story time video. But I was like, you've got to share all that stuff you just said, because it's so amazing.
Well, I just kind of actually wanted to say something that doesn't have to do with that. But as you were talking, I just keep, when you're saying like it's just going to be a suddenly, and even like the fears that kind of can come with just like, am I really prepared? Am I not prepared? It just kept making me think of our firstborn, when it was this time, we had prepared, we went to classes, we were, we had everything kind of ready. I don't know that we weren't necessarily fully prepared, because I still had some, we didn't have everything in the vehicle ready to go in that way. But basically, when the time came for him to be born, it was fast and furious. And when that water broke, it was like, it is time to go.
Time.
I was actually at work, and
we were thinking it was going to take at least like 12 hours, 8 hours.
Well, and I was
6 hours minimum, you know?
And I was like basically a week early. So I was really very mentally prepared that, okay, first time mom, you're going to go full 40, if not beyond that. So that's what I was expecting. I felt great. And went to work that day. I was literally an hour from getting off of work, and that's when my water broke, and I ended up calling Devin, and he's like in the middle of traffic.
I know.
Like,
it was
okay,
like,
I'm turning around.
It was like almost like I forget where I was, but it was like that downtown Cincinnati traffic was coming through, and I was like, man, I'm in traffic.
I mean, it took you like almost 45 minutes just to get there.
Yep. I told you, I was like, it's going to probably take me like 45 minutes just to get there, because I'm in this traffic.
And so at first it was like, okay, that's fine.
I'm sure I was praying, Lord Jesus.
We got time. And so, he gets there. We're leaving. I think it was literally almost like 5 o'clock. We left. But we realized, we're like, well, we have to go home, like get all our stuff. And so we're going. But for me, by the time, like, we started on the road, my contractions were just one on top of another. Like, I'm like, this is not what they told me in birthing class.
It was nothing like we were prepared for.
I was basically having minute and a half contractions 30 seconds apart.
Wow.
And it was just like boom, boom, boom. Like, there were no breaks. I was just like, what in the world is happening? And so we get home. He just runs up, grabs some stuff. Gets the car seat, super important.
Yeah.
And then we're just flying, like trying to get to the hospital. And I go in and literally
God
from the
forgive
time...
me, I broke the law seriously.
Yeah,
I was flying. I was like, because the thing was like 35 minutes, 40 minutes away in Ohio, and so we got there in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
No joke.
No, so we get there, and they check me and immediately take me up to delivery. He was born basically an hour later. So my water broke.
She was
basically
screaming. I'm going real fast, and she is screaming. She's like,
I was not prepared.
I was like, dude, we're gonna have one of these. We're gonna be on
car.
YouTube. We're about to be on YouTube.
I don't even think it was that big of a deal back then, but
well,
we could have been.
It would have been.
But literally, we get there. He's born basically an hour later, and
an hour after we got there. Yeah, we got there at 6:05.
Yeah, and he was born an hour later. But basically though, I'm like, oh my goodness, talk about whirlwind. I went from literally nothing to having a baby in 3 hours. And it was just like, this is crazy. This was nothing what I prepared for. And I'm not saying that God hasn't prepared us, but at the same time, I think the experience of the whirlwind of like, here we go, like it's happening, we're going. And but I think ultimately also what I was wanting to say is that, like, even for us in the sense, it's like in that moment we weren't fully prepared, but we had everything. It just wasn't necessarily with us in the moment. But I feel like it's like we were fine. Like God, we were able to get everything that we needed. We got to the hospital. He was born. Everything was good. Healthy baby. All of those things. And so God's provision was there in all of that. And so even in our fears and maybe of even not necessarily knowing, like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's like God has provision for us. It's
kind of like that wrong thing, right thing.
Yeah, it's like if we're just sticking close to Him and just, God, we will, overhearing but ignoring, we will shut out everything that, we might be feeling this, or but God, what are you speaking and saying? And allow His peace to settle upon your heart so you can decide with finality which directions to go, but also to know,
you spoke like 3-4 scriptures right there.
But it's like to know that God is good. He knows where we're going to struggle. He knows what He needs to do, how He needs to guide us, so that the end result is that there's the healthy delivery of the promises that God has spoken over our lives. And that even in the whirlwind of like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? Like it's go time, go. It's like we can rest assured that God who brought us here will get us through to the end. He will finish what He started. And so
I caught up to you at 4:45.
Yeah.
And you were like, and I never forget it. Your friend Robin at work, she was like, "Are you going to take her to the hospital?" I was like, "Oh no." I mean, in my mind, I'm like, "No, this is going to take a while." And she was like, and I was like, "What is that look?"
Yeah.
She was like, She's like, should I tell him or not? I don't know. Like, oh, buddy.
No, but we pretty much...
We know all that, and I was just like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
At 4:45, I picked you up.
Yeah.
By 7:05, we were holding a baby boy.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, that we did not learn that.
No.
It wasn't touched on. The more typical births were touched on, our labor processes were touched on. Quick ones weren't really touched on that much.
No.
So we were not prepared for we were basically an outlier.
Yeah.
Here's the typical, but sometimes you might have this and sometimes you might have this, but we're going to ignore those. We're going to,
Yeah.
We're going to focus on the typical stuff. So we were kind of ready. We were as ready as we could be.
Yeah. But I think that though it kind of the suddenly idea, it was just like suddenly here we are, and it's like, okay, it's time, here we go. And so that kind of, it brings it back to like, God is preparing us as much as he possibly can, preparing our hearts, all of those things. But then he is going to come, and
he knows how to do it.
Yes.
To where you don't have to run back to your apartment first.
But but even if you do, he's like, I have provision.
Yeah.
He already knows everything we're going to experience. And so I think for us, it's just like, okay, God, we're gluing ourselves to you. We're going to just look to you and follow you, let you lead, and just know.
Because if it's a flood,
yeah,
you better be anchored to something solid.
Yes.
And he's the only one I know.
His word and his spirit.
I'm telling her all the time, like, don't be trusting me, trust the Lord.
Yes.
It's the same thing I'm going to do to you. I'm going
Yep.
to trust the Lord first. Then I'm going to be like, here, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
You were supposed to grab my arm. Thank you.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of
weird.
weird.
It is. It looks funny in the camera, too. You look a little floppy. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But that kind of also goes to, so
we're talking about the suddenly.
The suddenly.
The sense of like, whoa, man, things are getting ready to pow. I just don't know when, but I just feel it in the spirit. Like, wow, it's literally like 59s have been, wow. Anyway.
Jumping out like crazy.
So quickly. Divine turnaround. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, so one of the numbers we saw both yesterday and today, it was 1734, and so I ended up looking up.
That's a burning bush number.
Yeah, Luke 17:34, and it says, "I tell you, in that night there will be two men in one bed, and one will be taken, and the other will be left." And kind of in context, you see the Lord ends up talking about, the days of Noah. He's talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, and all of these examples are kind of these suddenly moments, but it's these suddenly moments where God comes with his judgment. And there's suddenly moments where he's coming and he's saving the righteous, but he is bringing his judgment upon the wicked. You see that with Noah, and then you see that even with Abraham, where the Lord and two angels show up, and they're there to say, Abraham, this is your time for your blessing to be born, or not to be born, but to be conceived and then birthed. And then
we're going to start the process.
Yeah, and so he brings life back to both Abraham and Sarah in that moment by his word that's spoken. But at the same time, he's like, I'm getting ready to come over here to Sodom and Gomorrah, and I'm going to destroy it. I'm
going to bring my word to them too, and they ain't going to like it.
Yeah, and so you just see there's these suddenlies. Abraham, he was just out by his tent in the heat of the day, probably just resting because it was the heat of the day. And then he sees the Lord and is like, whoa, okay, I'm going out to meet you. Here, stay, eat. Like, this is the reason you've come. But it was just this sudden showing up of the Lord. And even with Noah, like, obviously he finished building the ark, and then the Lord did give them 7 days where it was like, okay, bring all the animals on. And for 7 days, God waited. The really 7 days of great mercy, saying, hey, this is about to happen.
One last chance.
But then
to come on board.
But then came the moment when it was like, all right, the door is closed, and now my judgment, my wrath is coming, and only Noah and his family were saved, his sons and their wives. And it's just like, okay, but again, it was this moment of suddenly where everybody's just living life.
Yep.
And doing the things that they always did.
Well, and Jesus said that's what it was going to be like when he comes.
Yes.
It's like people will be marrying and giving marriage. Basically saying, no, life's just going to be normal. There's going to be political wranglings and wars and all this stuff. And then he's just going to show up and people are going to be like, what just happened?
Yeah.
You know? Aliens, they really are real. That's probably what they're gonna say.
Probably.
But I mean, we're not talking about the rapture right now.
No.
You know?
Right now, what God is sharing with us is just this sense of like He is coming. He is coming to fulfill His word. There is,
for those who have been waiting a long time, like we have, in a wilderness journey, and whatever your journey looks like. But the bottom line is the recipe is promise and waiting and waiting and waiting and encouragement and waiting and waiting. The dash of waiting.
Yeah, and so, but it's just, yeah, the Lord is going to come. He's going to fulfill His word. He's going to do what He has promised, and it will be a suddenly, because just like with having a baby, you're anticipating that they're going to come. Now, obviously, with children, okay, you've got 40 weeks, 42 max before there's going to be something that's like, okay, you're coming out. But at the same time, you don't know the when, like the exact moment. Don't. And that's really kind of the sense with the Lord of like, you don't know that exact moment, that exact time when the Lord is just going to appear and step in and say, it's time. It's time to fulfill the word. It's time for us to go to the banqueting feast, to the banqueting hall, like in Matthew 25. They all fell asleep,
And at midnight there came a shout. Here comes the bridegroom.
Yes. And it's time to go. It's time for the celebration. And that's what we want to do. We want to say, all right, it's time. Let's go. We have by faith everything that God has spoken to us. And I think that can also be a way in which we are prepared in our hearts. We hold fast to what God has spoken to you, what you're believing for, so that when this moment comes of breakthrough maybe in your life, that it's like, I know what I'm believing for, and that's what I'm having faith for to receive from the Lord. It could be so many different things.
And it is.
But just the fact that the Lord is like, I am coming, and He is bringing the reward, the recompense, the work for His people, so that we can go into this new season, from the wilderness into the garden, into the place where God wants to really bring about just more growth and development of His people, but in a completely different setting. We've always talked about, like, there's the priestly and the kingly, and we are both, as it's in 1 Peter 2:9. Always get it. It's 129.
Yeah. 129.
So, 1 Peter 2:9. And so it's like, for us in our journey, God's been saying, like, hey, this priestly time has actually been a time in the wilderness, but it's been also a time of the highlighting of the priestly service, the worship, the praise, the just hearing from the Lord and revelation and truth from God. But then there's the kingly side, where God's like, that's the place where I want to teach you with what it means to have the authority and going forth in that. And what does it mean to have authority over places and
live like kings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so was that what you had? Yeah.
I don't remember if there was something else.
Well, there's Psalm 75:7. But God is the judge. He puts down one and lifts up another. It kind of goes with the whole the 1734 you were talking about. He's like, I tell you, in that night there will be two men in one bed. One will be taken and the other will be left. There will be two women grinding together. One will be taken and the other will be left. Two men will be in the field. One will be taken and the other will be left. It's like one will be believing, one will not be. And so it's like there's just that sense of like, like you can even be, you know, brothers with someone. Your brothers. It's like you know, in the same bed, in the same room, in the same family. You know, even the Lord said, I come to bring division between, you know, mother and daughter-in-law or something like that. Or it's like you can have a division even in the same family. But the bottom line is, as far as like highlighting the level of intimacy, God's like, I'm not going to value human intimacy more than intimacy with me. So that closeness, family, that's about as intimate as it gets, right? And so, but he's like, but even if you're just two men in a field working together, and you don't really even know each other that much, it doesn't matter. You know, if you know me, then I'm going to take you. You know, there's going to be this is talking about the ultimate lifting up, and so. But it's like it just happens, like boom, suddenly. So it's like it doesn't matter whether you're resting, whether you're working, whether you're, you know what I mean, whether you're sleeping, you know. It's like when it's time for the Lord to do what He's going to do, boom, it's just going to happen. And I just feel like that's what's happening.
Well, I guess I just wanted to, again, touch on really quick, at the very beginning of the video, you were talking about just the waiting and how God is very meticulous with just doing what needs to be done to prepare us and to really create the picture that He has for us. You know, if we were His canvas, you know, He wants to be able to do everything. And I was just reminded of I saw this one time where this artist, he took just a coloring book picture, right? And he colored it all in, and I was like, wow, that looks really good. But then he started going back through and just putting like little details. I mean, they weren't even like, you know, these huge changes
like
or anything,
these tiny
just
little powdery white glosses here and there. Yeah,
little details throughout the entire picture. And when he was done, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. And you could look, he showed, you know, the previous one that anybody would have said like, wow, that looks really good. But then
had you not known what the final picture was going to be. Yeah,
and then you see this final product, and you realize how much the little details actually matter, and how big of a difference it made in the final product. And I feel like that's kind of what God has been doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it might seem tedious, and it might seem like, why do you need that small little brush mark there? What difference does it make? But when you see it, when we see what God has done, we will truly be amazed, and it will just be like, wow, I'm so glad that you took the time to do every little detail that you've done. And so I just wanted to add that in. So don't be discouraged. I just pray that you are actually encouraged by every little detail that the Lord is doing, knowing that He is creating a masterpiece of your heart and your life. And to just know that He's going to show you one day, and you are just going to be amazed and in awe of His goodness and faithfulness over your life.
So we hope you guys are encouraged by that.
Yes.
Believe in the Lord. Believe. It's just going to happen. Boom. And you're just going to be ready to go, you know. For some of you, I just see this picture of like riding a bronco, you know. That's a suddenly too, isn't it? Whoa, check this out. Maybe the Lord has one more something to say. But I'm serious. I'm getting this picture. And if you watch the rodeo, you know, you see the guys, they climb in, they get on the horse or the bull, and they get their hands in the right position, and they wrap the hand, and they you know, they're doing all this stuff, and you can't really always see what they're doing, but you can tell there's a lot going on, and there's these attendants, they're there, and they're doing stuff. It's almost like a pit crew, like a pit stop in a NASCAR or something, but it's like, all right, he's like, and he just gives that head nod, like, yeah, and that door swings open. Come on now. That door swings open, and boom, you're going for a run. You going for a ride. You know, you bucking and bouncing and you just trying to stay on. You know. Some of you are gonna feel. I just feel the Lord's like some of you are gonna feel that way, but it's like you're gonna realize, well, I can do this. Wait a second, I got this. It is kind of scary. It is kind of crazy, but hey, we're doing this. This is amazing. You know. Yeah. So don't be afraid. Coming at you.
8 seconds for a new beginning.
8 seconds?
Yeah, that's a long time on a bull.
That is a long time. Anyway, girl, you're going to start a howl. So, anyway, we love you guys. See you later.
Right, see ya.
Bye-bye.